Record. Okay. Okay, so hi folks, thanks for streaming. And this 10th episode of Yumio to Ohanashi features William F. Burk from Georgia, an author of fantasy novels, flash fiction, poetry, and his current main project is Sword and I Quintet, beginning with The Heart of Hearts. Thanks for joining here, William. So can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes. So I've been writing for a few years now.
A few years,
And I'm the author of, right now I'm the author of 3 novels, working on some more. I guess we'll probably get to know me a little better through the interview, but a little about me is I've always liked writing. Writing has always been freedom for me. And so I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much for attending. And I think you kind of mentioned that you like those European heavy metal, fantasy metal bands, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Say that again, I'm sorry.
European fantasy metal bands from in the Europe area.
Yes, fantasy metal bands. Yes,
because I like those Italy's Rhapsody, Camelot with K, Sweden's Hammerfall, Nightwish from Finland, and Blind Guardian from Germany.
Yes.
So I love those bands.
Yes, Nightwish. There's actually I can't remember exactly what it's called, like Galneryus in Japan. They're a Japanese.
Galneryus. Yes, Galneryus. You like
Galneryus. Yeah. I like that one. I think my favorite though is Rhapsody of Fire.
Yeah, Rhapsody of Fire. Yeah, the earlier work is so excellent. So first of all, can you share your latest accomplishment or your temporary goal that you would like to reach?
Yes. So the last book that I published was this one, The Phoenix Prince. And it is it's the second in Sword Eye. So it's the second in the Sword Eye series. Actually, last year was actually kind of busy for me because I published that one and this one, which is a light novel. Which the light novel was actually a rewrite of my first project. My first ever project was a manga, and I wrote the script for a manga. So that's my latest accomplishment, and my goal is my long-term goal is just to finish this series. That's my long-term goal. I'm working on book 3. I had to do some rewrites. Yes.
I see. So you said the light novel, so it's meant for those all ages?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say late teens and up. I typically don't try to write with strong language or anything like that, because I feel like there's lots of I don't I'll use certain words, but I'll never use like the F word or anything like that. It just I feel like all it does is limit my audience when I do that.
I see. And is it the one single protagonist story or multiple character story?
Single protagonist story?
Is it? I see, single protagonist, and it's like the pretty much authentic fantasy or dark fantasy.
So Sword Eye actually has it has dual protagonists. There's 2 characters, Lucas and Nox, and you grow along with them. And I had the struggle of, am I dark fantasy or am I epic fantasy? And I guess I kind of came to believe that I'm somewhere in the middle. Typically things, things kind of, I sort of gravitate towards the darker side of things, but I don't know if I could properly be called dark fantasy.
I see. That's pretty interesting. So when did you discover the joy of writing?
Well, okay, that's an interesting story, really. So I actually did not start writing. I had for lack of better terms, as far as the writing world goes, I had 2 come to Jesus moments with writing. The first one was when I was a teenager and I was introduced to the idea of writing stories. Because a lot of the time in the school system, I had been introduced to writing, but never had I really had the idea that, oh, I can write whatever I want. And then it was probably when I think I started like officially deciding I want to be a writer, because I had done it as a hobby up to that point. But I think I officially was like, I want to be a writer. And that was probably 2016.
Oh, I
so
see.
I've been writing since 2016 very regularly.
I
So,
see.
but yeah, finding that what started the joy of my writing was actually a teacher who is the dedication for the Heart of Hearts. He was the one that he told me, he was like, this isn't just schoolwork. Like, you can make anything you want with this. And I think in that moment I realized, this is not an academic, this is an art form. And that was what sparked the love of all of that for me.
I see. And what was your very first draft story that you completed in the past? And do you think you can publicly share those in someday?
Okay, so that's actually a funny question. So I was waiting. I was really excited about this question. So the first publication I ever did was a manga, and I worked with. I don't know. I'm not outing her. I don't know. She actually. So she became a webtoon mangaka shortly after the series was discontinued, and we are still great friends, and we sort of just did our own project. But anyway, that was the first project I ever did, that manga, Angelica Demonica, which later became this one right here. Can I show it? I have the whole first volume, and I have, like, in my mind, I'm like, maybe. But the light novel exists now, and so since the light novel exists, and there are drastic story changes. But it is a funny thought to be like, it's literally sitting in my Kindle bookshelf.
I see, because my first story will never get out from my hard disk because it's just terrible. So I just bury it in my hard disk forever. So how do you brainstorm when composing new scenes, dialogues, and so on?
Typically, I use music. So typically I listen to well, fantasy metal is one of them. Cinematic and instrumental music is another one. And then a lot of metalcore will give me ideas and things like that. But what I typically do is I have two things that help me develop scenes and help me develop dialogue and all that. And that is, the first one is acting things out. So I'll be in my room talking both characters, acting them out, and that's sort of like
it is.
Yeah, it's in a way like it's my way of working through things. The second thing I do, once I have an idea for an arc, like I think, okay, so this is the general idea, this point to this point. I think, okay, what's the climax? And once I get that, I start to fill in the blanks. And one thing I do, and this is actually, I find it hilarious that I do this. So I create an anime intro in my mind with a song. And the thing that's funny about that is it actually does help me sort of, because, like with an anime intro, like an anime opening, they summarize the arc in whatever way possible, right? And so that's sort of like, without getting spoilers, of course, but they do, like, when you look back after you finish an arc of an anime, you're like, oh, well, the opening was this, and this, and it's just beats. And that helps me really kind of flesh things out and summarize things. And yeah.
I see. Okay, so what is your writing advice?
My writing advice. Okay. So I've talked about this on my podcast. My writing advice is that all writing advice is bullcrap. And that the only thing you need to do to be a writer is write a lot and read a lot. The reason I say that is because, and I say that typically for new writers, because one thing that happened to me, and I know happens to a lot of people, is they want to write a book, and the first question is, how do I do this? It's not, there's no, you want to write a novel, you're like, well, how do I write a novel? And typically you go to things like Writer's Digest or Publishers Weekly, and you see lots of lists of advice, like 10 things to put in your novel and 5 things to stop doing. And I believe that all of that is malarkey. I think I believe stories are organic things and they're not algorithmic. And so I think really what it does to a new writer is just confuse them. And my theory is, if you are writing a lot, you're getting practice. And if you're reading a lot, you're studying. For a writer, reading is studying. because we see things in action, and that's a lot better than just reading a list of do this, don't do that. You know, because when you read, you think, oh, I like this, I don't like this. And when you read as a writer, oh, I see what they're doing here. You're getting study. It's study, and then writing is practice. And so my writing advice is that those are the only two things you should focus on.
I see.
The rest is just nonsense.
Yes, I think in terms of writing, AI never beats writing, I think. Okay, so have you experienced communicating with the Japanese speakers? If so, how did it go?
You know, I have. So I started, I just decided one day, I was like, I want to learn Japanese, mainly because it's always interested me. You know, Japanese culture has always interested me. And also, I just know that the language was vastly different than English. And I'm just a glutton for a challenge. I love to challenge myself. So what I did was I thought, well, you know, I need to find native speakers. You know, because they always say, if you want to learn a language, go to that country. Well, I can't go to Japan, but with the power of social media, with the power of social media, I can bring Japan to me. And so I've made several native Japanese friends, and you know, it's interesting because they're all very polite, very respectful, and also the thing is they're very eager to help me. Like, never have I had, you know, someone seem annoyed by me asking questions about the language. And one thing I have noticed, I think the biggest thing for me that I noticed between, you know, I can't speak for the rest of the West, but for particularly America and Japan, is Japanese people are really private. They're very private people. Yeah, and that was like the biggest thing, because like I would be talking to someone and then like learn that their username was not even their name. Which is nothing wrong with that. It's just something I noticed. But one thing I've just noticed that a lot of my Japanese friends have become really good friends, and they're just very, in general, nice people.
Yes, that's great that you have a good experience with Japanese people. So we're kind of running out of time a little bit, but so let's go with this one quick. Who is your anime character crush on you that you want to forget your lover, husband, or wife?
Okay, Haruhara Haruko from Furikuri. FLCL.
Furikuri.
Yeah.
That is kind of challenging for me.
Yeah. So what's funny about it? So Furikuri was airing in the US when I was like in 4th grade. And I always joke, I'm like, Haruko awaken things in 4th grade, Will. Like, but yeah, no. I just thought, yeah, I thought it would be an interesting one. But yeah, no, Haruhara Haruko. I like her chaos.
Yeah, Furikuri is pretty much a limited audience, I think, because it's too fast-paced and it's too difficult to understand, actually. So let's wrap up. Any message to those watching this interview?
Yeah. Buy my book. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm joking. No, I've kind of said everything. I think the thing I would want to leave with was because I always want to encourage. I always want to encourage, you know, people who want to write a book. And so I guess my message leaving would be, don't worry about, you know, don't worry about the complexities of it. Just write and read. And if you want to write a book, do those two things, put in the work, and you're going to do fine.
I see. Yes, that's very encouraging. And finally, what is the most encouraging phrase that you recite when you want to pump up your motivation or crawl out from a rock bottom?
Okay, yeah. So the quote is from Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell, yeah, he was a 20th century mythologist who did a lot of scholarly work and all that. Anyway, he has a quote that I constantly repeat to myself. It is, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure that you seek." Yeah, and so yeah, because the whole thing is that fear in a way is an indicator of change. And this is, you know, if you're afraid of something, you know, like not like actual danger, but like if you're afraid, like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can make this step in my life, you know, life-changing things. That's something I always repeat to myself is this fear an indicator, or is this really a bad idea?
Yes, exactly. Because in some time in our lives, we have to risk ourselves to get something that we want. So his book is called The Heart of Hearts. And thank you very much, William. So folks, if you're interested in William, please pick his work and follow his account since he sometimes shares his daily lives. And truly appreciate your participation in this segment, William. Wish you great success and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.